Good evening. Welcome to the forecast discussion for April 29th, 2014. It's currently 6:02 p.m. and we have a raw, ugly evening out there with temperatures in the mid to upper 40s throughout the entire Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. Upper 30s to lower 40s over portions of northeastern Pennsylvania and the Hudson River Valley. It's chilly out there and we have a strong easterly wind anywhere from 10 to 20 miles per hour, making it feel like temperatures are in the upper 30s to lower 40s throughout the region, with scattered showers producing heavy downpours at times. It's not going to be pretty, and it's not going to get much better over the next several days, as we have a marine air mass that has locked in over the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area, and a warm, moist air trying to move northward over this marine air mass that's going to lead to some very heavy rainfall for the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan areas for tonight, tomorrow, and into Thursday morning. How much rainfall? How about 3 to 5 inches of rain over the Philadelphia metro and 2 to 4 inches of rain over the New York City metro, 1 to 3 inches of rain for eastern Long Island. It's going to be a pretty wet couple of hours, that is for sure. So here we have the surface map, and what I want to show you here, very basic surface map. This is the low pressure system, this is the high pressure system. Key point here. This high pressure system is driving in the marine air mass. You can see it kind of building in through New Jersey into southeastern Pennsylvania and down towards Virginia. And then here's our low pressure system over the mid-Mississippi River Valley. Now you see how this is kind of kinked in here? This is your warm front. And what's basically happening is that kind of like what you would see in the winter, cold air damming, in which this cold air or cool air is building south, all due to the negative NAO pattern, which I'll show in the water vapor in just a moment. And this cold air is building south. Meanwhile, very warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico is being driven northward. You can see the southerly winds here running right up against this warm front. And so what you end up with is an area of rainfall and overcast skies and drizzle and just raw weather conditions. And this is going to continue on through tomorrow. Now on the infrared satellite picture, it's interesting to see this really set up here. See all these high clouds here? This is clearly supportive of a strong lifting environment. So you have strong lifting basically from the Great Lakes through the St. Lawrence River Valley, down through the mid-Atlantic, into the southeast, and here you have all your strong to severe thunderstorms producing, unfortunately, tornadoes. And then you can see the upper level low here. So you can clearly see that we have plenty of lifting involved here with a progressive warm front driving through the Ohio River Valley and lifting northward through North Carolina, but kind of stalling out once it starts to run into this high pressure system that is locked in over the Gulf of Maine. On the water vapor satellite picture, it's even more impressive. Look what we basically have set up here. You have one upper level low over the northwestern Atlantic. That upper level low supports an area of what we call convergence and confluence. See how the moisture here is kind of converging here? You can kind of see the line right here. That supports sinking air at the surface, thus your high pressure system. Then you have your next upper level low that is over the plains here. And then as you zoom in, you can see all this moisture being drawn northward from the Gulf of Mexico right up the east coast. And it's going to move over this cool dome of air that's in place right now. And that's what's going to lead to a very heavy rainfall over the next 48 hours. And one thing I'm keeping an eye on is this introduction of Pacific moisture getting very close to this entire setup. I think it's going to remain separate for now, but it's something to certainly keep an eye on as our subtropical jet stream remains very active. So we have a blocked up pattern here, which means a couple days of rain. The good news with this type of pattern is that once this upper level low moves to the east of you, which I'm expecting by Friday, you're going to end up with several days of very pleasant weather. So the way I see it, I'd rather have the rain during the week and very nice weather during the weekend. And it looks like that's exactly what's going to set up with this pattern. Finally, I want to show you the radar here. This is the latest radar. First, we zoomed out for much of the eastern United States. You can kind of see the expansiveness of this system. Here's our upper level low. Here's showers and thunderstorms developing over the Gulf Coast. Here's our first batch of moderate to heavy rainfall that is developing over the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. We'll zoom in on that in a moment. But what I want to point out here is that the showers are starting to develop and expand over Virginia. And this is our next heavy batch of heavy precipitation that's going to approach the region for tomorrow morning. So we have several waves here. We'll get a bit of a break this evening. So if you're going to the Mets-Phillies game or the Yankees game, it's going to be wet, but it's going to be playable once the first batch here exits the region in a few hours. So again, we're going to zoom in here, and this is currently one last heavy batch. Once this lifts north and east, we'll get a bit of a break in the rainfall for this evening. So again, if you're going to the Mets and Phillies game in Philadelphia, it might be a late start, but the game will get in. Same thing with the Yankees game this evening, but it's going to be raw and ugly out there. Temperatures this evening falling, well, not much, mid to upper 40s. So we're not really falling all that much. And in fact, many locations will just remain flat as far as temperatures this evening and overnight tonight. So that's our first batch. And I also want to point out, you see how these batches here are pretty heavy here. This is some heavy downpours here. And these downpours will be capable of localized urban flooding, especially if you have some poor drainage areas. So it's not going to be pretty over the next 24 to 48 hours. Going to use the GFS model guidance for today. Of course, we could use the European model guidance, the Canadian model guidance. They all pretty much are saying the same thing. It's going to get wet and nasty. So for tonight, period of showers with a bit of a break in the evening hours. Another round of rain starts to develop by tomorrow morning. You can see here it's developing over the southeast, lifts up towards the southern mid-Atlantic early tomorrow morning. And by the time we get into the mid-morning hours through the afternoon hours, periods of moderate to heavy rain will move into the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. Now, the best lifting and dynamics with this whole setup is actually going to be focused more towards New Jersey and the Delaware River and eastern Pennsylvania. So basically, the eastern edge of the New York City metro, let's say Manhattan, JFK, LaGuardia, you're on the edge of this, and then on west towards Philadelphia and much of eastern Pennsylvania. That's where you're best lifting at the lower levels with this setup, with the interaction of the warm air aloft and the cool air at the surface will set up. As you head further east towards Long Island and towards eastern Connecticut, you're closer towards that high pressure system, so the rainfall will be heavy at times but more broken up. And it'll take a little bit longer to get that steady heavy rainfall. That's going to be for those areas more in the evening hours as this warm front lifts north. So throughout the day tomorrow, periods of heavy rain, temperatures struggling in the mid to upper 50s. It's going to be another one of those raw days. And if it wasn't for the fact that the warm front was lifting north, we probably would get stuck in the 40s once again. But it looks like that warm air is going to finally win out as we move through the next 48 hours. So periods of heavy rain, rainfall amounts again very heavy. Flash flooding and urban flooding will be a significant problem. And winds will be from the east from about 10 to 20 miles per hour, increasing to 15 to 25 miles per hour at times with higher gusts. It's just going to be a raw couple of hours here throughout the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan areas. The good news is that the warm front finally lifts north on Thursday. So again, periods of moderate to heavy rain all the way through into Thursday morning. Thursday afternoon, we get a bit of a break. Temperatures spike as a result. We go from the mid to upper 50s for lows on Thursday morning into the mid to upper 70s for highs. The Philadelphia metropolitan area, somewhere around, let's say Camden, could actually hit 80 degrees if we get enough sunshine. But the flip side of that has me concerned is that the cold front moves through in the evening, and that could spark an isolated strong to severe thunderstorm as the cold front moves through. There's going to be a lot of dry air aloft at the mid-levels of the atmosphere, but that could work against you in terms of severe thunderstorms because you get just a little bit of lifting with this cold front. It's warm, it's unstable. Yeah, there's a lot of dry air, but any moisture in the atmosphere gets lifted, and you get one of those isolated cells of severe thunderstorms that can produce very strong winds, small hail, very heavy downpours, and frequent lightning. That cold front will move through and exit out of the area by Thursday night, and by Friday, then we start to move into our very pleasant weather pattern. High pressure is generally in control Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, even into next Wednesday. Now, we're going to have disturbances, you can see like this one here, passing to our north that could produce an isolated shower each day, especially as you head towards the Hudson River Valley. But the key word here is isolated, as we're going to have a lot of dry air at the mid and lower levels of the atmosphere here, with more of an influence from a polar Pacific air mass. So we're going to be dealing with basically scattered cloud cover, an isolated shower possible at any afternoon, but for the most part, dry conditions. Temperatures will range from the upper 40s to lower 50s for lows, mid 40s over the interior, and high temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. So overall, not that bad for this upcoming weekend. Again, we get through all this rain, all this nastiness during the middle of the week, and then this weekend, absolutely beautiful with scattered cloud cover, seasonable temperatures, and low humidity. That's your forecast discussion for this evening. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. Have a wonderful evening, and as always, stay safe out there.